Hey everybody, how we doing out there? Doc Severson, and we got Mav out in California. Where's everybody coming in from today? Good to see you guys. Ready, set, live here on, what is this, the 9th of October, Wednesday, the 9th of October. We are, let's see, where have we got people coming in from? We got a little bit of rally here today. We'll talk about that in a minute. Mav's got some talking points as well too. We've probably got about 30 minutes of material for you guys, and then we'll get you out of here. So we got people from Amsterdam, we got Belgium, we got Nashville, we've got New Jersey, outstanding. London has checked in, Tejas, Hungary, Amsterdam again, and then we got Arkansas, Thailand, Albania. My God, everybody is coming in today. So what's on your mind, people? We got a little bit of a rally. I'm gonna shuck it over here to the other charts. Say goodbye to Mav for a second. And what do we got here? We've got on Bitcoin. So this is what we were looking at. We've got this big old volume profile node down here, and the price is just kind of bouncing in between them. So first overhead resistance is about 9,100. Myself, I think the price is going to get stuck in between this range for a little while. But notice when we throw the energies on here, and this is what I was talking about with my Omnia folk the other day, when you have a energy level that's this high in the daily chart, the price does not sit there for very long. Nice fake out to the downside. This is where you get everybody leaning in one direction, and then you pull the rug out. So this is why we're getting that big move to the upside, which is nice. 5% today, and across the board, this is a broad-based rally. We've got Ethereum, we've got Bitcoin Cash moving, we've got even, my God, Binance Coin is moving away. The Ripple Army is happy today. We've got, let's see, what else? We've got, even Digitex is moving slightly up. And we've had some really strong coins lately, such as Chainlink has been monstrously strong lately. So we do have a positive market right now, finally. I don't know how long this is going to last. And actually what you should be hoping for is a little bit more chaos. Why, you ask? Because to go higher, we've got to go lower first. So we did a little step lower from the 8,000 level. We undercut 8,000 a little bit. And that might get us up to perhaps maybe up to this level. So we may be coming down to this descending trend line. Could be the next stop, maybe 9,100. We'll have to see how strong that resistance line is. But to get this thing moving up into the hintersphere up here, what you've got to do is you've got to have one more evil move to the downside. You've got to get that bearish interest up again. We've got to get the bears convinced that this is the highest probability move is to the downside. They've got to lever up, load up, get on BitMEX and go 100 times leverage. And then we may get a chance to get something, perhaps into some big time 5-digit figures in through the end of the year. Okay, so if you guys have any other coins you want me to look at, let me know in the chat. I'll write them down and then I'll circle back to this shortly. So with that, I'm going to send you back to the two of us here. Hello again. City of Angels, Chile. And away we go. Okay. So let's see what other questions. All right. So Chainlink already ran it. Big time it already ran it. It's probably going to be consolidating on a weekly chart for quite some time. So don't chase after Chainlink at this point. Okay, so Mav, what you got today, man?
I've got PowerPoint crashing on me, like right as I'm getting ready to turn it on. It's like, oh no!
Just use your hands to explain things. Like, get that little, you see that little blackboard behind you, like with the letters, just get that out and just start. Yeah, there you go.
All right. Let's try this round two. Hopefully this works here. Always live technical issues are always fun. Here we go. man. All right. You see that all right?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we see, I think, the wrong monitor, though.
Oh, no. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. That's an optical illusion. Oh, my gosh. PowerPoint needs to really... Okay. How's that? Is that better?
That is much, much better.
Okay. Wonderful. Sorry about that, guys. All right. So, yeah, what I want to talk
Very
about...
pretty.
Oh, thank you. Well, you're pretty too. Yeah.
Pretty old.
Well, yeah. What I want to talk about today, guys, is obviously we've got a little bit of movement in the market, and with that, there always seems to be a return to this bloviating and hype. So I'm here to be not really like a FUD buster or FOMO buster or whatever, but just I like to keep things rational and grounded. So yeah, the first thing to ask is, oh, I think it crashed again. Oh my God, today's not going well.
We're good. We got a second.
We got the next slide. All right,
the next
wonderful. I've got to like update my PowerPoint or something. This is ridiculous.
Just use a little, like, you know.
All right, so yeah, the question is what's going on? What's driving this? What are the market forces going on right now? What's getting people hyped up? You know, that's always the good question to ask. My buddy Data Dash definitely put out a seminal video yesterday. A little bit hypey, I think, a little bit overblown, maybe, but I think he did make some good points about how the market has been oversold for a long time, and certainly altcoins have been in a state of just pure misery. And so it's inevitable, right, that we're going to see a return to the norm, that the market's going to open up once we get some volatility flowing and some volume and some good stuff in the space. Hey, that's you know, it doesn't always get directed just to Bitcoin. It needs to go out and find other places to, you know, invest, and that's what we want, right? Like, we want a diverse market that is opportunistic and is exciting, and we want that 2017 fire again. We were just last week, guys, go back last week. It's so funny. Like, we were just talking about all of this, about how we need the space to grow up. We need the space to get, you know, excited again. Did throw caution towards altcoins, and I still will play that card a little bit, because just because we've seen the market move, one green candle does not a rally make, does not a bull market make. Play it safe, play it smart. If you went through 2017, you should know this. But at the same time, it's good to be excited about things. At the same time, and Doc will talk about this, don't chase things just because they're going higher. I'm happy to see that Link is absolutely crushing it right now. At the same time, if you go look at the chart right now, Doc, if you could pull it up later, it's absolutely parabolic. You should not be chasing after that right now.
Which one are you talking about?
Chainlink.
Oh, Chainlink. Yeah, I just brought up Chainlink a minute ago.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, I was in PowerPoint mode. Anyways, but that's the thing is you got to be careful about that. Don't chase after, you know, the one that's going away. Anyways, not to boil the ocean here. Another thing I saw, sorry, maybe I should have timed this better. There's Tika Tawari is this known guy that does these sales, and I don't know. I'm not here to bash him, but he did do a webinar the other day about 5 coins to 5 million, and sort of this idea that you could just pick 5 coins and then bam, you're done. That's retirement nest egg money. We'll get into that in a little bit, but anytime you hear Tika Tawari, I hope you think of this picture. I was going to type up this, you know, nice little summary of the 5 coins he selected and all that sort of stuff, but I felt that this was a much better representation. Anyways, the ETF seems to be back in the news too, which is man, that brings back a little bit of fear in me, a little bit of hesitation to even talk about it. But it does seem like the market is again warming up to it, so I think it's worthwhile addressing. There was a little bit of news yesterday, or there's one guy that was really out there on CNBC talking about it, and then somehow it got replicated all over the place, and that's, you know, suddenly we got ETF hype again. But I would caution against, you know, going anywhere near where we were last year in terms of the Bitcoin ETF hype and seeming as though it was some sort of eventuality. It's not. It will help the market, but don't look at it as an end all be all solution. I think we are definitely in a better state than we were overall in terms of market manipulation, in terms of market infrastructure. One of the points that he argued about was that BACT and ARSX and all these other institutions coming on board is going to provide the custodial services and just structure that is needed to facilitate an ETF or even the consideration of one. But at the same time, I think we're still at least another year out before we really start to talk about this seriously. So just, it's nice to talk about it again. It's like, oh man, that old friend, it come back in. But at the same time, just don't buy into the hype again. Another thing is we just saw this news headline that Marcus Zuckerberg is going to be in front of Congress talking about Libra. So we're going to go through a whole nother one of those Libra shakedowns in front of Congress. So that should be kind of interesting. Also kind of, I don't know, it seems like there's a lot of the Libra core is sort of dissolving right now. PayPal just left. There seems to be a lot of regulatory uncertainty right now. And what it seems like is they've introduced a bill. I don't know how it probably will not go anywhere, but they're starting to look at this power grab that Facebook is doing. Apple came out and said, what they're doing is a complete power grab, and they're right. It is a power grab. We talked about this a couple months ago when Libra first came out. It's the combination of consumer data and like that financial data, and that's super powerful. And that's something that maybe one company shouldn't have the power to or access of. But anyways, regardless, we are going to be back on the world stage again. Libra is going to be back in the news cycle with Mark Zuckerberg being in front of Congress. And so I just kind of anticipate some more of that discussion around like, what is Libra? What is blockchain? Where are things going? So it just should be interesting. But at the same time, it's also going to look good for the blockchain space, the true blockchain space, because we're doing things right, I think, or at least trying to. So that should be good. Another thing is DevCon was this week for Ethereum. So in the top 10 today, Ethereum is one of the top ones, top performers. And I think it's due to a lot of just sort of repressed price. This is something we've talked about a while. Just Ethereum is right now, it's got the most developer activity. It doesn't know what it wants to be, but it's still trying very hard to be something. And that's really important, especially in the midst of a bear cycle like we are. So yeah, I think there was, we didn't expect the sun and the moon from DevCon this week, but certainly it was cool to see that the Ethereum community, the developer community behind Ethereum, they're still rocking. They're still working really hard. And who knows when Ethereum 2.0 is going to come out, and a lot of the things that they've been promising for years. And there's many different possible. It's a complicated project. It's got complicated avenues. There's many different ways it needs to grow up. But at the same time, I think it's shown that there's a fire behind it that I'm not seeing really from a lot of the other platform projects out there. And that's important. And we'll get to that in a little sec here. But another thing that is just starting to really start to hit the news cycles is the halving. And I know it's probably already old. You're going to hear about it even more so throughout the next 8 months. But that's okay, because we need that. We need a catalyst for excitement. We need a catalyst for just that sort of price. I won't say, in fact, if you go back and look at previous halvings, you'll see that it doesn't actually affect price as much as people would like to believe. The one we saw in 2016, I think, was different than the ones we saw before, because there was a lot of extraneous factors at play. And, that was when Ethereum was really starting to hit the scene, and ICOs and smart contracts and a lot of these other ancillary facets of blockchain technology that we kind of take for granted today, but they're just starting to come on the scene at the time. So it was a great environment for that sort of event. We just don't really have that right now in the same regard. There isn't that sort of like startup, from the bottom up environment that we had in 2016, but that's okay. We're in a much more mature place now, and I think that's ultimately what's going to be the better aspect of this halving, is that I'm not anticipating there to be just this massive swing and massive market. There might be some volatility, there might be some volume that might be fun for a little bit in the short term, but the long term, that's where I see this really starting to affect things in terms of scarcity, in terms of just the different market dynamics and supply side dynamics, and a lot of things that are going to be going on, and it's just going to get Bitcoin back in the news, and that's definitely important. So there's many different ways to look at it. I wouldn't look at it from just the short-term aspect. I would also consider the long-term aspect as well. So those are a lot of the kind of main hype factors that are going on today. There's obviously going to be many other things that are going on, but that's what I'm seeing from my perspective. Now, obviously, I titled this and I talked about Tika's 5 coins for 5 million. So I do need to at least address that, at least from my perspective. I'm not going to be up here saying like, oh, here are the 5 coins that you need to get into, because I just don't believe in that sort of mentality anymore. I don't believe that you can obviously play the picking game of trying to min max all the little the coins out there and find that one that's going to do 100 times. And that's fun. No one's going to deny that, like, getting a winner before it takes off is like the best feeling in the world. I've been there. It's great. But at the same time, I think the dynamics of this market have changed a lot, and that even in a day like today, where we're seeing the market sort of wake up and do some really cool stuff, I just don't see it like lasting. I don't see it being this recurring bull cycle that we saw in 2017, because we just aren't there yet. I think there's not enough. There's not enough coming into the market. There's not enough. We're unfortunately subject to the larger markets, and unfortunately that is still grabbing a lot of the news and attention, and until that changes, there's just not going to be the capital flowing into the space that is necessary to sustain a bull cycle. But that's okay, we will get there. We will definitely get there. So my answer to how to invest, how to pick 5 coins, or really 5 opportunities for returns in the millions, hopefully we would all like that, right? Is to look at things like sound money, is to look at things like Web3 infrastructure, is to look at blockchain plus IoT plus AI. That's what I talked about last week. To look at dApp proliferation and the projects and the platforms that are making that happen. And finally, those projects that are pushing the envelope of DLT, distributed ledger technology, the blockchain space. Those projects that are taking it to the next level. What comes beyond where we are right now? And a lot of the graphics that I have here also kind of highlight the larger investing strategy that I'm playing with right now, in terms of looking at all the emerging technology aspects, or different emerging platforms, innovation platforms out there, and how they intersect, and where we can find crossover in terms of opportunities, in terms of investment opportunities. That to me is exciting stuff. We talk about the fourth industrial revolution, and we talk about just this technological renaissance that we're about to embark on, and what does all these really cool emerging technologies look like, especially when they interact with each other. That to me is the killer app of blockchain, but also like the next phase of technology in general. And so that's going to play out over the next couple decades. But obviously getting in early on that and understanding that trend before it really plays out, it's like going back to the 90s and saying, I understand where the internet's going to be in 20 years, and here's how that's going to happen, and here's how I'm going to invest to make maximize that return. So for me, that's how I see things moving forward. But obviously there are coins, there are projects that facilitate these different aspects that are better than others. You know which ones are not. I don't know. It's more important to me to look at these by sector, by the large opportunities of things. I talked about this a little bit earlier, about how it's less important to look at the individual projects themselves, and more to look at like what are the large caps doing, what are mid caps doing. And in fact, if you look at this graphic, it's kind of striking. In the past 30 days and 7 days, mid caps have actually outperformed the large caps. And that's the first time we've seen that in quite some time. Certainly year to date, large caps have killed it. You can see that giant blue bar there. that's where my money would have been for the first 3/4 of this year. But now that we're starting to see a shifting tide, it might be worth starting to think about, okay, could I diversify? And if I'm going to, playing it safe. Like I said, you got to play this safe and recognize that even though mid caps are doing well, mid caps being between about 20 and 50 or 60 on the coin market cap by market cap scale, even though those are doing well, the small caps, everything outside of the top 100 basically, those are just not doing very good. There's the occasional breakout star, but don't take an anecdotal example to represent the entire space. It's not doing well right now. That space needs the larger sectors, the larger coins to sort of drive the overall space, because otherwise money just doesn't flow down to them. So that's kind of where we are right now in terms of the news, in terms of the hype, in terms of the overall market. So hopefully you guys got something out of that. Hopefully that was a little bit enlightening. But yeah, always happy to share some insight. Before I go, I just want to mention that our Omnia service is kind of the core piece of who we are and what we do. We do like to do tons of free content, but we're also out there to, we want to drive the space forward, and we want to provide an opportunity for people to take this to the next step in terms of education, in terms of information, in terms of having a private community where you can, be among friends and learn from each other. And we base this all on honesty and trust. We don't take money to shill projects, or, you just can't buy our opinion. We're out here to push the space forward, and we do that through trust and honesty. And that to us is what Omnia represents and what Ready Set Crypto represents. So I appreciate your guys' time. I'm glad that the PowerPoint didn't freak out there.
Excellent.
All right.
Good job. Nice and
Cool.
stable. Looks good.
Yep.
That looks like some of the buildings in Chicago I've seen down by the river.
Yeah, I think there's some of them in there. So, all
Well,
right.
we have an absolutely brutal chat room today. These
Oh
guys
yeah,
are just
excellent, good.
just slamming each other. So
Oh my.
feel the love.
Yeah, guys, come on. The market's up. Like, there's no need for negativity. It's all good.
Well, it's the same old thing. Actually, it's kind of disappointing because everybody is still displaying the same kind of tribalism and religion. Like, hey, I'm going to pump my coin. You don't see that anywhere else in any other market. It's not like you see people like outside with, pitchforks and banners going, Amazon, Amazon.
Man.
It's that's the problem, is that there's limited demand in crypto. So there's only so much money to go around that's going to make it into one of these. That's the problem. There is not a shortage of money in the investing world, but right now there's a shortage of demand for what we're seeing in crypto. So it's kind of like, which one's going to attract the attention. So I understand it. People feel like it makes a difference. It doesn't at all. And actually, the less that you care about your specific coin, the more objective you can be in terms of making decisions. Let's see. Some people were asking about.
Yeah. His top ones. What was it? There's the ones that Tika actually picked were all like, other than 0x and Chainlink, they were just kind of like little tiny coins that no one's ever heard of, or okay, maybe they're like top 75, but that's very different than it was 2 years. I don't know. So
Like garlic
yeah,
coin or something.
Yeah, I think I looked, and like most of the ones he picked are like blowing up today, because of course they are, but that's pump and dump for you. So watch out for the the other side of that.
Somebody else made a point earlier on that I agreed with, is that you don't have to, like, there's so much of this sense that you have to pick the right needle in the haystack. All right, that's what everybody thinks, because that's the way we've been educated over the last decades, right? Is like, investing is all about picking the right needle in the haystack. Find that right religious coin and then invest 100% of yourself into it. And maybe you strike out, maybe you hit the home run. But, lately what I've been doing is you can just pick on one coin. We have derivatives now where you can literally create a whole stack of portfolio based on one coin, one chart. You can sell puts, you can trade options, you can trade futures, you can buy spot. You can do just about anything that you want to just on one coin. So that to me is the market maturity for a financial market when you get the derivatives that surround it. And quite honestly, nobody from the institutional perspective is going to invest in something unless it's got a very deep set of derivatives around it, because they can't manage their risk any other way. You don't find any Wall Street individuals or institutions that are going to manage something without having a full set of derivatives around there to manage a risk. It's like buying insurance. They would never do it. So unless they have the derivatives, they won't trade it. So automatically, that's going to shift things around. That's going to shift the demand towards those assets that are collateralized in that manner.
Oh my! All right, getting back on the altcoin train. This is like like putting on an old coat. All right, so yeah. Let's see. The other ones he mentioned were Ripio Credit Network and Tyrion. I'm not too sold on those. What do I think of Cardano? That's a tough one for me. I've always been conflicted on that. It's Charles Hoskinson has some good energy. I've liked this sort of marketing that they've done, but at the same time, like there's still things that just aren't there. And for me, 2020 is a big hurdle for them in terms of they're implementing their new staking system mechanism. So I'm going to be watching that, and if that doesn't fall through, I'm kind of tired of hearing this sort of like punt. I don't know. So I'd also be, Hashgraph is interesting, but it's centralized, my understanding. And when you're dealing with platforms, especially when they're, non-blockchain, you have to look for the sort of partnerships or some way that they're going to bootstrap enthusiasm and usage for that. Hashgraph is actually one of those, but at the same time, I don't know. It still hasn't sold me, but it's interesting for sure. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like all the questions are just going to be like, "What do you think about this coin?" It's like, man, I haven't put on these glasses in a while. This is.
You got your tiki glasses on.
I do. Well, now I need that mustache. Like I need the Steve Harvey mustache. Okay. Yeah, hopefully this. I don't want to turn this into like just what do you think, altcoin carnival kind of thing. But if anybody has like any substantive questions about like what's going on in the market or stuff like that, we're here to help. But yeah, it's like religion in here.
Yeah, LP had a question. I'm gonna switch over to the chart because LP was asking about what do I see with Bitcoin. So there's a couple of different ways that I see this right now. Let's get rid of this, and we'll just go to price and volume. Let's try that once again with meaning. Okay, so what I'm seeing here is that price is pretty much, let's go with a different color here. Let's go to something like this. Right now, the price is kind of hung in this range between 7,800 and 9,100. 9,100 is overhead resistance until it proves that it's not. Former support becomes new resistance once broken through. So there is a possibility, though, that we may see the price come as high as, maybe this descending trend line, which is going to be very close to that high volume node, and maybe fade at that point. Because what we might be seeing is, instead of the symmetrical triangle, maybe that wasn't the full answer here. Maybe this is really just a huge weekly bull flag. Okay, so if that's a weekly bull flag with yay, okay, then what we want to see is we want to see it fade down here. And you might say, why? Why would I want to see the price go down? Again, guys, it's all about feint and deception. This is the way that markets move. They don't move the way that you think that they move. If you need proof of that, think about ETFs, think about BACT, think about every other known data point. The market always moves in the opposite direction. Okay, so if we do see the price fade down here, that's good. We want to see the price fade because we want to see bearish interest pull up. And this is the type of scenario where you can get a big old, this is what I call a trap move here, where the bearish interest pulls up, we get down to support here again, the institutions say, thank you very much, that's good enough, I'll take it from here, and the shorts get squeezed out. Descending patterns break to the upside. This is rule number 3 of the fractal. So that is kind of what I see right now. In this, the other hand, if we fail early, okay, so the same thing could happen on a lower low. One of the things that I normally say though is that bottoms are an event. So look for some very spiky behavior, big time volume on something like that. So a couple of different ways that this could go in the near future, but I like what I'm seeing so far. We've got a 7,800 level as support. Okay, so let's switch back there. Hello again.
Yeah, something I want to stress before we end the stream today. Bitcoin is still the best performing asset, regardless of sector, for this year. And we charted it last week. I don't know what the total or the percentages as of this week, but the large caps, the top 20, if you had just bought an index of that, you'd still be up 70+% if you had bought, at the beginning of the year. So guys, I think what I'm trying to stress to you is that it's not about buying individual coins and like being like, all right, I'm all in on Chainlink. That's a cool move if like you just have $100 to set aside. But I think the more important thing to look at is the long-term perspective of this industry, where we're going. That's kind of what I was trying to allude to at the end of the presentation, is like, this is going to be part of something much bigger. And so I'd like to invest in projects and the infrastructure that's going to make that happen. So if you really want an answer to like the 5 coins, I would invest in something to do with monetary systems, money, whatever, payments. You decide what matters to you. I would invest in something with infrastructure that has to do with blockchain, DLT, whatever. Platform is another one. Those are kind of synonymous, but you could look at that like Ethereum and Chainlink. Like those are, they work together pretty well because they're helping each other solve problems. And there you go. I'd also look at something to like extraneous to the blockchain space, solving a problem through supply chain or medical or whatever, very isolated use case that, blockchain is very well suited for. And finally, I would just find something to do that sort of strikes to like what you believe in. So if privacy is something that you find to be very interesting, go for it. If, Bitcoin is your thing, just go back into Bitcoin. For me, it's finding the different ways I can look at Bitcoin, I can look at Ethereum, and I can look at something in between. I just talked about Decred in the video earlier today. That's sort of in between the two, and like that to me is a really interesting play to have those 3 kind of lined up like that. I don't know, guys. It's your portfolio. I'm not telling you how to or what to pick, but make sure that as you're part of this, as you're investing in the future, that you are doing it in a way that you find to be, I don't know, like you're getting something out of it more than just money, because otherwise you're just going to attach a dollar figure to everything, and you're going to be disappointed when tomorrow the market crashes. Yeah, you just bought a bunch of coins today, and now you got to go back through the misery cycle. Don't do that. Like, make this more than just money. Make this more than just the opportunity of returns, because it's going to happen if you stick in this space. That's been proven over and over and over again. Like, the question isn't there anymore. We've been through 10 years of this up and down, but over time it goes up. So I want to make sure that we kind of are cognizant of that larger perspective, and we're not going back into this little silo, oh, my coin's better than your coin game. because it just doesn't get us anywhere. Oh man, you guys, I miss this. I miss the. This is great.
I'm going to do one more chart and then we're going to hit the road here, guys. So I got a request here for volume profile. And so volume profile is always going to be a function of how many bars that you watch. But the one main tenet of volume profile is that the price will run in between these high volume nodes. These are high volume nodes, and the price generally will bang around inside of that range. Price will cut through these like butter, like they don't even exist, because there's no volume there. So moves like this don't generate any support or resistance. This is why the price cuts through there when they do that. So bang, 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 and then right through there like it doesn't exist. And this is why it came to a screeching halt right around 8,000, because there's a ton of volume profile there. So the volume profile does help if you don't know where support and resistance is. If you can't get a read on it, this is what volume profile is good for. Okay, back. There we go. All right. Yeah.
Charles
right.
Savage.
Yeah, this is fairly savage. All right. Guys, thanks for hanging out with us here today. We are Ready Set Crypto. Please join us or consider joining us. Or even if you can't do that, sign up for our free newsletter. Otherwise, we'll see you back here in a week. Thanks, everybody. Adios. Ciao.
Stay good, guys. Cheers.